Hello and welcome to How to Deal with Grief and Trauma. My name is Natalie Himmelrich. How to Deal with Grief and Trauma is completely self-funded, produced and edited by me, Natalie Himmelrich. Consider making a small donation to support the podcast. Go to bit.ly/support, capital G, capital T, and podcast. I repeat, bit.ly/supportgt podcast. Thank you so much. And for more information, please visit Natalie's website, join the podcast Instagram page, and subscribe to the newsletter to receive updates on future episodes. Welcome to this special series on the many phases of trauma. In each episode, we'll explore one trauma type in a clear, gentle way, what it is, how it can show up in daily life, and one small step that can help your nervous system feel a little safer. Nothing here is meant to diagnose you, and you're always invited to take what fits and leave the rest. And because this is trauma work, we'll end every episode with a short grounding practice you can do anywhere. Today we're talking about what trauma is and what it isn't. This will be general and non-graphic. Still, if you notice your body tightening, your breath changing, or your mind drifting, that's a nervous system response, not a sign you're doing something wrong. You can pause, take a break, or come back later. So why definition matters? When people don't have a clear definition of trauma, two painful things often happen. One is minimizing. Like, it wasn't that bad, other people had it worse, I should be over it. Or the other is pathologizing. Something is deeply wrong with me, I'm broken. A definition that's too narrow makes people feel invalidated, and a definition that is too broad can make everything feel scary. So today I want to offer a definition that is human, nervous system based and practical. Something you can feel in your body as, yes, this makes sense. So let's have a look what trauma is. So here's a grounded way to define trauma. Trauma is not what happened. Trauma is what happened inside your nervous system when an experience was too much, too fast, too soon, or too long, without enough support, choice, or protection. I would add to that an experience was not enough. We'll come to that a little bit later. So let's break that down gently. Too much. Something overwhelming, like emotionally or physically. Too fast, meaning your system didn't have time to process. Too soon, meaning it happened when you were vulnerable, young, dependent, or already stressed. And too long, chronic stress that never really lets up. In developmental trauma, we can also look at not enough. We'll look at that later. And the key piece is this: there was not enough support, choice, or protection. Sometimes the event is objectively extreme, and sometimes the event is subtle, but the context makes it dangerous for your system. This is why two people can go through something very similar and come out differently. Not because one is stronger, but because nervous system differ, histories differ, support differs, and meaning differs. And trauma is often about loss of control. Even if nothing dramatic happened on the outside, your body might have learned, I'm not safe, I don't have a choice, and I have to manage this alone. And that learning can last. Let me offer you a small example. Imagine someone who experienced a medical procedure that felt rushed and confusing. Nobody explained what was happening, they didn't feel listened to, they felt exposed or powerless. The procedure might be routine, and everyone around them acts like it's no big deal. But afterward, the body reacts strongly. They dread appointments, their heart races in the waiting room, They feel nauseous, they can't sleep the night before any checkup. They might tell themselves, this is ridiculous, nothing terrible happened. But their nervous system learns something very clear. In this context, I didn't have choice or safety. And the body remembers. That's trauma through the lens of support, choice, and protection. Now let's have a look at what trauma is not. Now, with a definition that is honest, it's also important to name what trauma is not, so people don't feel confused or alarmed. First, trauma is not the same as stress. Stress is part of being alive. Stress can be hard, even very hard, and still be manageable when you have support, recovery, and a sense of agency. Trauma is stress that overwhelms your capacity to cope in that moment and leaves the system stuck in protection afterwards. 2. Trauma is not a weakness or a character flaw. If your nervous system goes into fight or flight or shutdown, that is not you being dramatic. It's your biology doing what biology does, protecting you. A helpful reframe is, symptoms are not random, they are adaptations. 3. Trauma is not always remembered as a clear story. So many people expect, if it was trauma, I should have a clear memory. But trauma can be stored as body sensations, reflexes, triggers, emotional patterns, relationship templates, and flashes of fear without a clear picture. This is especially true with early trauma, before language, or with chronic relational stress. And the last one, trauma is not a competition. This matters so much. There is no prize for the worst trauma. Comparisons often lead to silence, shame, and isolation. A question that helps more than comparison is, what happened inside me? And what do I need now? The polyvagal lens and what your body learns. So let's connect this to the nervous system in a very simple way. Your system is always asking one main question, often outside your awareness, because the nervous system is outside our conscious awareness. And the question is, am I safe enough right now? It's like a security system always scanning surroundings for cues of safety and cues of danger. And so when the answer is yes, enough, you tend to be in safety and connection. You can think, feel, relate, and recover. When the answer is not sure or no, your body shifts into protection. That can be either mobilized protection, which is often referred to as fight or flight, or shutdown protection, which is collapse or disconnection. So in fight or flight, you might notice anxiety, panic, anger, a tight chest or shallow breathing, restlessness or racing thoughts, hypervigilance, or startled responses. In shutdown protection, you might notice numbness, fogginess, feeling like you're far away, exhaustion, heaviness, difficulty speaking or deciding, and a sense of I don't care, which is like a protective shell. These are not moral states, they're not good or bad, they're survival strategies. And trauma is often what happens when the nervous system learns, even when it's over, I still need to stay in protection. So the body keeps reacting as if the past is still present. Healing is often the slow, respectful process of helping the system update that prediction. So if you're listening and thinking, okay, this makes sense, but what do I do with it? Here are a few gentle starting points. 1. Name it without judging it. So instead of I'm overreacting, try my nervous system is in protection. 2. Track your cues. Ask, what are the first signs that I'm moving into fight, flight, or shutdown? Maybe it's jaw tension, a tight throat, a sudden urge to leave, a blank mind. 3. Support and recovery count. If you've been through something hard and you have no recovery time, your system will struggle. Even tiny moments of recovery matter. 4. Choose one safe connection. Trauma isolates, and healing often involves one safe person, one safe place, one steady practice. And that brings us to our short grounding practice. You may keep your eyes open if you prefer, or close them. And if any part doesn't feel right, you can modify it or skip it. So as a first step, orient yourself. Let your eyes gently move around the room. Find 3 neutral objects. Not meaningful, not emotional, just neutral. And you might name them quietly. Lamp, chair, window. Step 2. Now we're going to take a couple of breaths together and focus on longer exhale. Now take a normal inhale and let your exhale be a little longer than your inhale. Not forced, just slightly longer. And we'll do that 6 times. I do it in my pace, you choose yours. And the last one. Step 3. Feel the contact of your feet on the floor or the support of the chair or couch. If it feels okay, place one hand on your chest or your upper arm, somewhere that feels neutral. And say to yourself gently, in this moment, I am here. And then add one small choice. The next supportive step for me is, let that be small, a glass of water, a short walk, a text to a safe person, or a pause. If you've noticed even a 1% shift, more breath, more presence. That counts. That is nervous system work. So if you'd like support as you listen through this series, check my website for free resources offered for both those affected by trauma and grief and those supporting them. There are materials here to help you take the next step in a way that feels steady and not overwhelming. In the next episode, we'll talk about small t and big T, and why that distinction can be helpful, but also why it can sometimes create shame or comparison. Thanks for listening to How to Deal with Grief and Trauma. If you'd like to be updated on future episodes, please subscribe to my newsletter on nataliehimmelrich.com. If you need grief support, please contact me for a 30 minutes free discovery session. How to Deal with Grief and Trauma is produced and edited by me, Natalie Himmelrich. To support this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe to or follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you. And remember to keep breathing. I promise it will get easier.